from the 2016 Commemoration Fund.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy Paul Murphy, please. Deputy Paul Murphy, please.
Thanks, Ceann Comhairle. Will we keep her here for the night? Not one, not two, but 3 Gardaí, up to the rank of superintendent, swore under oath that they heard me say those words at the protest in Jobstown. Words designed...
Please.
Yes, Ceann Comhairle?
You're getting involved in rehearsing events that took place at a court of law. This is not a judicial body.
Sure,
it is not in order.
The trial is finished. It is in order.
The trial is finished.
Yeah.
It is not in order for this House to review the outcome of trials. It is not in order,
okay.
And I would ask you not, please, to be disorderly.
Words designed to portray a menacing crowd. Perhaps a crowd
please.
from the Lord of Flies,
Taoiseach. Deputy, I'm afraid you are completely out of order.
I'm not.
You may not attempt in this House to review. You may not attempt.
What standing order am I out of order?
Standing order 59, standing order 61. If you care to look at them, you may not undertake a review of the outcome of a court case in this House. It is not in order.
I'm not.
It is not in order.
I'm not, Ceann Comhairle. I'm not. Yesterday in the Dáil, the Taoiseach said he was struck by the moment when that was said. Taoiseach, you couldn't have been struck by it because it didn't happen. So last Thursday you made comments on prime time expressing concern over potentially false statements given by the Gardaí. And then on Tuesday, yesterday, you come into the Dáil and you put them on the official record of the Dáil. We proved, and we can prove again, that they weren't said because of a video taken by a protester. And I would ask you, Taoiseach, to retract the comments that you made yesterday and to correct the record. One Garda misremembering this under oath would be an unfortunate error. 2 Gardaí remembering the same words that weren't said, an incredible, almost unbelievable coincidence. But 3 Gardaí, Taoiseach, you tell me what you think that means. Add to that the Garda who swore under oath that he had seen me directing protesters where to stand. When confronted with video evidence proving that I wasn't directing anybody and he couldn't have seen me in any case, he responded, "I stand over my statement." Add to that the superintendent, who in his written statement claimed that as a consequence of what I said on the megaphone, people became more aggressive, missiles began to be thrown. Excuse me, the deputies might not agree with the call for the public inquiry. Fianna Fáil in particular might be nervous about these points being raised, but something very serious happened in court, and there is a public interest in a public inquiry. I could give more examples, but I won't.
Can we have order?
I'm finished with the examples because I think they demonstrate it. If the Taoiseach wants more, I'm very happy to go through the transcript and the video evidence with him, as are the other defendants who are here. The Taoiseach has to decide what all of that means. I know what I think it means. I think it means that numerous Gardaí lied under oath. I think they did so in a coordinated way. I think that implies an agreement to commit perjury, and I think that is prima facie a conspiracy.
Deputy.
Yes, Ceann Comhairle.
Deputy, please. There is long-established precedent here. It is not open to this House, to this chamber, to review the
I'm not asking. I'm not asking to review a process court case. I'm asking for a public inquiry. If you let me finish the point.
I've let you finish.
Thank you.
It's questionable whether I should have let you go on in the first instance or not. But you are not, Deputy. We're not. Have you some role in this, Deputy? No. Well then, keep the peace. You are out of order.
Okay, let's deal with the politicians then. Let's forget about the court for a minute. Let's deal with politicians, because this actually started with politicians. It started.
Deputy Durkin.
Excuse me. Can I?
Deputy Durkin.
It might pain you. It might pain you all, or at least lots of you, that actually a jury watched the evidence and found us not guilty. I'm sorry. That's the way it works.
Time is up.
Look, this started with
Time
politicians.
Is up, Deputy.
I've been interrupted non-stop, Ceann Comhairle.
Yeah, well,
non-stop. Let me finish. Let me pose the question. I'm not going back to the court case. I guarantee you. This started with politicians. It started with a Labour minister a few hours after the protest saying it was false imprisonment. It was followed by the Taoiseach saying that it was kidnapping. It was followed by the now Taoiseach saying it was thuggery. It was followed by your lost colleague Noel Coonan describing it as the same as ISIS, and it was echoed by large sections of the media. Now, Taoiseach, politicians, not courts, politicians have to deal with the consequences.
Thank you, Deputy.
If you believe there's a serious chance, as there is, that the Garda gave false evidence in the stand,
please?
will you accept that we have to have an independent public inquiry?
Taoiseach.
Deputy, you had a fair trial. It went on for 9 weeks. Your peers heard both sides of the case, the prosecution and the defence, and they reviewed the evidence and they acquitted you of false imprisonment. You're not a victim here. You're not the victim of any conspiracy. You had a fair trial and you were acquitted. But that doesn't mean that your behaviour was right. And it may well be the case that you weren't engaged in kidnapping, but it was thuggery and your behaviour was wrong. The protest was ugly, it was violent, it was nasty. And for those of us who have seen some of the coverage of it that was broadcast on television, whether it was the anger, the virulence, the words that were being directed at two women going about their course of work on the day, a water balloon being thrown in somebody's face, all those things were behaviour that is unbecoming a member of this House, unbecoming somebody who believes in democracy, and unbecoming somebody who has any respect for other human beings. So instead of trying to present yourself as a victim and demanding a public inquiry, what you should do now in this House is offer a public apology to Deputy Burton and Ms O'Connell.
Victim. I'll tell you who is a victim. There was a 15-year-old who was convicted on the same evidence that was contradicted before a jury and disbelieved by a jury. He was convicted in a children's court of false imprisonment. There's a victim. Will you support his appeal to overturn his conviction? The others, my co-defendants, people who lost jobs as a consequence, those who still have this hanging over them, they are victims. And you avoided the question quite deliberately because there's a logical flaw in your position. Your position is to say it will be a serious problem, and I agree. It's a matter of severe importance for public interest if guards would give false statements under oath. In an abstract sense, it is an important issue. I agree. But there is a logical problem with following that by saying, well, then we'll get Noreen O'Sullivan and the Garda management to look into it. The logical problem, as you know, is one, we don't know how high this conspiracy went inside the Gardaí, but two, we do know that Noreen O'Sullivan and the Garda hierarchy are implicated in scandal after scandal after scandal. Whistleblowers, Temple Moore, penalty points. We know that. So it is completely illogical to ask them to investigate whether their members coordinated perjury to try to, one, get prosecutions to proceed in the first place, and two, to try to stitch people up for false imprisonment.
Thank you, Deputy.
So I don't want your commentary on the case. I want you to deal with the actual question that we need an independent public inquiry to get to the bottom of this, Deputy. And the charges against remaining protesters should be dropped.
Taoiseach.
Deputy, not only do you owe Deputy Burton and Ms O'Connell a public apology, you deserve all
Please,
those.
will you let the Taoiseach answer?
All those other. That's quite threatening, actually. It's quite threatening.
Yes, you are. Deputies, will you let the Taoiseach answer?
And you also should give a public apology to all of the people who you led, and you were part of the leadership of that protest. We saw you on the loudhailer, and you owe those people who got caught up in this, an apology as well. Particularly the young people and the minors who should not have been led in that sort of protest, which is unbecoming, I think, our democracy and our politics. As head of government, I have a legitimate concern about any failed prosecution, whether it's that prosecution or the prosecution of Sean Fitzpatrick or others. Enormous cost goes into such prosecutions, enormous effort goes into such prosecutions, and at the very least, if a prosecution fails in this way, there should be a review or an examination of the facts, and that is something that should occur.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy